Hey, everybody, Brandon Williams here again. Hey, I had a few people reach out, so I wanted to talk about this real quick. If you saw the news over the weekend, there was an accident, unfortunately, at Mountain Home Air Force Base, an air show they were having there over the weekend. It was also in the national news this morning, I know, and over the weekend. But basically, two F-18s, actually EA, electronic attack, EA-18s, that they call Growlers. It's like a F-18 Super Hornet, except their mission is electronic attack, electronic warfare. So how they jam and suppress enemy air defenses and radars and things like that. But at this air show, when you see the video, when I first saw it, I almost thought they were taking off and departing the area, turning out of traffic. But actually, from news reports, from what I've read, it says they were actually doing some type of aerial demonstration. I'm not sure what that was, or haven't verified that. That's just what I've seen on reports. But either way, what you see in the video is it looks like the number 2 aircraft, the wingman, essentially gets kind of high, and you see them essentially have in midair or run into their flight lead. The 2 aircraft get tangled up, start to spiral out of control a little bit. Then you see 4 parachutes. Again, good news there, from what I understand and read, that the all 4 crew members are stable and safe and in good condition. The pilots and weapon systems officers. But and then you see the fireball, unfortunately, as the airplanes fall down and the 4 parachutes come to the ground. But when we look at this, I've had people again reach out and say, how do things like this happen? Well, first of all, the U.S. combat aviation, especially the formation, is the basic building block of our tactical and what we do and how we execute our tactics. Again, if you've heard me talk before, if you've seen my content, fighter aviation, combat aviation, again, a basic tenet of that is mutual support. We never go out alone and unafraid. We always go out with a wingman. Ever since we started flying airplanes in combat back in World War I, we learned and understood that it's way better, way safer, way increases your chance of survival by going out with a wingman to help you look out, to help you accomplish your mission when you're out there in very uncertain and complex environments. And so that's why I talk about this idea of mutual support to companies I work with, especially high reliability teams, and how mutual support is there designed not to call you out, but to call you up, not to make you look bad, but to help us do better, to help us mitigate human error, to help us, drive better performance in very uncertain and complex environments where human error is very susceptible to us. So we have to operate as a formation out in those environments, especially when you're flying jets that can go 400, 500, 600 miles per hour. You're carrying weapons. You're going to enemy territory. You're dealing with weather. You're dealing with terrain, a lot of things. You're flying this jet with 250 switches, dials, and displays in it. So you have to have that mutual support out there to back you up. But with that mutual support, with that help, and when you're flying in combat or when you're flying jets close together, there's a critical contract between flight leads and wingmen. The flight lead leading formation and the wingman flying with them, and that is deconfliction. And in the briefing, again, something we talk a lot, I talk a lot about briefing, how important that is before you go and execute. So we build that situation awareness. But in that briefing, what part of that is always what we call a deconfliction plan. How we're going to deconflict. In other words, how are we going to ensure that we don't swap paint? How are we going to ensure that we don't hit each other? Because that's not going to do anybody any good. Flying airplanes close together, there's got to be a deconfliction plan. Who's going to make sure we're not going to run into each other? And with that, you can do that sometimes with, altitude, with spacing, with timing, with certain equipment we carry. But typically, and almost always, there's always a component of that where the wingman, the number 2 aircraft, or 3 or 4 if you're flying with more aircraft in your formation, the wingman always, what we say, own deconfliction. The wingman's primary job after flying their airplane, their number 1 goal or number 1 thing they have to focus on is don't hit another airplane in that formation. So maintain that deconfliction. Not always. There's certain exceptions to that, but 98% of the time, wingmen own deconfliction with that. And so with that, I bring that up. Again, we're not speculating what happened here. We're not trying to cite causal factors at all. I have no idea what was going on, why that happened. But we do know there was a midair. And so when we look at that, it will be interesting to see, how that deconfliction broke down, because it clearly did, because there was a midair. But with that, I just like to explain how we ensure this typically doesn't happen is having that deconfliction plan. But also, this goes back to the importance of that mutual support, number 1, having it. But even more important is when I say mutual support, I talk a lot about why we have this in the briefing, because we have to understand each other's roles. So when you go out and execute, you're making sure that you understand someone else's role so you can back them up and provide mutual support. And in this case, obviously, like flying formation, you're establishing, hey, who owns deconfliction, when and where, so we make sure we don't run into each other. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, again, grateful that the crew is okay, that they're safe and good. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of here. I guarantee you there will be human factors involved. We talk a lot about human factors, whether that be task saturation, fatigue, task overload, poor communication, whatever. We'll see what it was. I'm not speculating at all. Have no idea what happened. There could have been aircraft malfunction. I don't know. Nobody knows. But we'll see why the deconfliction broke down, if there was other things going on there, or why that happened. So anyway, we'll see more there. But hey, if you have any other questions, reach out to me. Wanted to put that out there because I think it applies directly to what I talk about when we talk about mutual support and how critical is that role establishment. So be sure that we're doing the right things and bad things don't happen. All right. Hey, everybody, take care. Thanks. See ya.